Indie Beacon Radio with hostess Rox Burkey. Welcome to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. You can send questions for each show on Twitter using the hashtag IndieBeacon. Now sit back and enjoy learning about our guest for this show.
Welcome to Indie Beacon Radio, where we get to talk with some fabulous authors. I am Rox Burkey, and I am so excited this evening to be talking with Lorrie Parise. Lorrie, thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm really excited.
Well, I am too, and what makes me the most excited is we're talking about your nonfiction book, Biography of an Everyday Couple, and it's a really, really intriguing title. How did you come up with that?
Well, it was interesting because first I started writing a book about my mother. It's a nonfiction story, and it was and then as I wrote it, my dad was so intertwined. It is a little bit about their love story, but it's one love, one story. So I called it Biography. And then the everyday portion of it, I wanted to call it because they're extraordinary, but instead I went ahead and said they're just everyday people. So I put everyday. Now the subtitle, Turning Ordinary into Inspirational, they inspired so many people along the way, including myself. And my mother once said, you can take a piece of clay, shape it, mold it into the person you want them to become. And that's what she did. That's what my dad did too, because I'm adopted. So I think the person they inspired the most was me.
Oh, and that's just awesome. I mean, what a wonderful legacy they left with a beautiful daughter like you. So, I need to know, I know there's several awesome chapters in here, and I haven't read the entire story, but there are some awesome ones. Do you have a particular favorite chapter that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yes, I actually have two. First one is called A Non-Traditional Christmas. And it actually flashes back, and it flashes back to a Christmas where we usually went to Floresville, which is one of the hometowns of my parents that I speak about in the book. And we would go there for Christmas and enjoy the traditional food and gatherings and midnight mass. And this particular Christmas, we couldn't get out. So there's a little humor in there. We couldn't get out. We ended up having a chicken noodle soup, tamales, and crackers because we were stuck at home, bad weather. And we also had some company with us. And some of our gifts included like toothpaste, toothbrushes, because we were working on the spur of the moment, candy. And at the my dad said to me, it doesn't matter how you celebrate, it's what you believe. And in our case, we were Christian, but any religion you believe in, it's just what you believe and what you make out of it. And this particular Christmas that I speak about in the book in the present time, my mother was ill. And again, we had a non-traditional Christmas. And as we sat in the same similar room, it made me think back into that time and how it didn't matter how we celebrated. It was that we were all together. And then I mentioned a second chapter that I really enjoyed. It's called Snow Cones Come in All Flavors. And that really probably has a lot of humor in it. And it was when I was thinking back again, and we went to get snow cones. But the funny thing is my dad it's a love story, but my dad was actually engaged to somebody else. And where do we stop and get snow cones? But we stopped at his ex-fiance's home, and my car broke down. So it's got some humor there. My mother thought it was hilarious, but the relationship was so secure that there wasn't jealousy. There was a little bit of humor, and my mother wanted to go back for her own snow cone in whatever flavor she wanted. So,
now your parents' name is Alice and Fidel Flores, right?
Correct.
And so where did they meet?
So they met in Floresville, Texas. And the funny thing, Floresville is a very small town. I mean, it probably has 7,000 people right now, but at the time, I would imagine it had about 2,000 people. And my mother had moved from another town, they never knew each other growing up. It's a small town, but it's amazing how you don't meet each other. And there's
Sure.
several talks about their love story where they never met. And they just kind of by chance almost meet, and they don't. And then they met at an engagement. It was actually not an engagement party, and it was a family kind of history and fun about it. My dad said it was never an engagement party for him, but they were celebrating him being engaged. And my mother walked through the room. This is the first time he ever met her inside this big dance saloon. And he said, I want to marry her someday. And his brothers almost had a heart attack. They didn't know what to do. They actually helped. The fiance was there. They helped distract her, get her out of the room so my dad could talk to my mother. And and
a real love at first sight, huh?
It was a love at first sight, and she fell in love with him. She had a boyfriend, and she broke it off. He broke it off, and the rest is history.
So you talked about some of the chapters that are your favorites, and there were 2 of them. Were there any in this book that were particularly challenging to write?
Yes. There's one called Zulema. My mother's middle name was Zulema, although she never used it, and it meant peace. And when I wrote it, it is actually the chapter when my mother passes away. And I think I poured my heart out. I really talked about my feelings. I had been talking about everybody's feelings in dealing with her sudden illness, but then I really poured my heart out and talked about my feelings. And I was very lucky in that chapter. When my mother passed away, I actually had given her the last kiss, and I felt her last breath. And it was very special, but also there was a sense of guilt that my dad and my brother didn't get to experience that. But I want to say when I wrote the book is, even though that was a difficult chapter to write, death is something that is natural, and it's something that still can be emotional or a family gathering. I really brought togetherness to our family.
Oh, and what an awesome thing that you did by bringing everyone together. It probably helped make the grief process just a little bit easier.
Yes, it definitely did. Even writing the book helped make the grief process easier. And I felt like it was also a tribute, but it also was a self-cleansing too.
Now, my Spanish is rather poor, to say the least. I have a few choice words that I can say, but you use a Spanish word inside the book, Ciergo, is that right?
Suegro,
See, I can't ever roll that R in the right place. So can you explain why you incorporated Spanish into that story?
Yes, so what I want to say is my parents were Hispanic mostly. They had different ones. My dad actually, a king of Spain, King Philip V, sent his family down from the Canary Islands, and they actually started Christianity in San Antonio. Nice. And they brought some of the missions, and they actually, Floresville is like a suburb of San Antonio, and they created Floresville, which is hence Flores on there. Now, they spoke Spanish, but they actually never taught my brother and I Spanish, and I really wish I did know it. I can understand some of it, but I really wanted to incorporate it into the book because it was like a tribute to them. And I researched it. I used some where they would speak Spanish and English in sentences. My dad definitely used a different dialect than my mother. My mother's was more like from Spain, and my dad's was more like the Spanish you find in Texas. And suegro means father-in-law. And back in the day, what it meant that if a man was trying to get in the good graces of a woman, he called him suegro out of respect. Now, my father's side, they were more affluent than my mother's side. And my mother's side, her father was the deputy sheriff, and he needed help on his farm. So my dad's father wanted him to help. He got 3 of his children, and he told my dad, you call him suegro because I don't want to collect any money. And my dad, but the thing is, my dad didn't know my mother existed. So he knew all of her other brothers and sisters, but that particular day she was in a different location. So he still
And
didn't
Lori,
get to me.
for that, we're going to take a short break to hear from our sponsors. And so we'll be right back. Come back soon.
Well, this will be a good place for us to small break and let the sponsors pop on here and do what they do. And we'll come back and we'll be moving right on into the information about who you are and why you do what you do.
Thank you very much.
I'm Rox Burkey.
And I'm Charles Brakefield. We're award-winning co-authors, Brakefield and Burkey, of the Enigma book series. There are 10 books in the series, with book number 11 planned for release in January 2020.
Each story has a central technology focus ranging from identity theft to cryptocurrency and now AI wars. These adult techno thrillers pit cyber good guys against cyber thugs across the darknet.
In our world, technology is today's weapon of choice. You can enjoy ebook format, paper, or Audible. We want your feedback.
Until the next story, thank you.
Thanks.
Well, hello there, my friends. My name is Randy James, independent voiceover producer in the Dallas, Texas area, available to write and record a 30-second commercial, much like the one you're hearing right now. It's a great way to help increase awareness and exposure to your book title. It's easy to do. Simply call me and we'll brainstorm on a few ideas, and in a few hours, I'll whip something up and send you a digital file ready to use. Remember, call or text me, Randy James, at 214-762-1942.
Welcome to IndieLector.store, an online bookstore where the discriminating reader can find award-winning books. IndieLector.store is not a big corporation, so we can give up to 80% of the sales directly to the author. Help us support them by buying a great book at IndieLector.store.
Hello, I am the author and poet Denise Bryson. I am the author of The Things That Cross My Mind, Love's Reality, both in book and audio form. I am also noted as one of the best poets of 2011. I have two new projects coming up. One is the Blinky series, where Blinky tells us all about our coins and our bills for our children. I also have a book coming out called Say Ye. It's quotes from Denise Bryson, just inspirational and that will help you along the way.
Welcome back to Indie Beacon Radio. Don't forget to like us, follow us, or subscribe to one of our many channels. Now, here is your host for today's show.
Welcome back. I'm Dr. Keitha, and I want to thank you for staying with us through this program, this very informative, very powerful presentation. I want to talk to you just for a moment. Reverend Terry, could you tell us how would be the best link? If our viewers want to find you, how do they find you?
You can go to our book website, wdjsbook.com. WDJS, of course, stands for What Did Jesus Say? So it's wdjsbook.com. And then my ministry is Foundations, plural, foundationsforlife.org. And both of those websites give you detailed information of what I do online. I live in Negril, Jamaica. I'm visiting my daughter at this moment in Alabama for this week, and then I return back home. That's where I was divinely healed, and that's where I teach Christians and counsel online worldwide from where I am, helping them where they are anywhere in the world.
All right, and I encourage you as a viewer to check out YouTube, Reverend Terry, because I think you're going to be instructed, encouraged, and directed in a path that is to your benefit. I also want to make sure that everyone knows that while we can find your books on Indie Beacon, are there other places we can locate your book? You mentioned them briefly before.
Well, the book is on Amazon.com, and the Kindle version is the paperback book. But in our site, wdjsbook.com, you'll get an EPUB version, a Kindle version, a PDF version, and an audiobook version for Androids and iPhones. So either site will help you out on that.
Okay, so I'm talking to you, the viewer, and that is that there's no way you can't find out what Jesus said. It's available, it's out there, and all you have to do is pursue it. The hard work's been done. The revelation has been received, the words have been written, but it's your challenge to go out and find what's there so that you can move in a direction towards God's purpose for your life and for God's purpose in life. And that's pretty much the one thing I can encourage you, I know that you need to do. It is an honor, Reverend Terry, to be with you. You're very informative. I appreciate your time while you're on vacation too. Thank you very much. And just encourage you to in your ministry and in your walk, that you continue to be that light that everybody's looking for, but they don't even know how to find. So thank you for doing it. God bless you, sir.
And thank you so much for having me. It was a joy to be with you today.
Good. You have a good evening.
Welcome back to Indie Beacon, and I'm here with Lorrie Parise. We're talking about her book, Biography of an Everyday Couple, and we kind of left off when you were talking about suegro, which becomes very important when you refer to the pearl button and bring it up in the epilogue. Come on, I want the detail on that.
Yes, so as I mentioned, my father's family was a little more affluent, and they were able to afford like silk shirts with pearl buttons. And my mother grew up in a harder time, and they struggled a little, although they all were very educated, and they had a little more difficulty. So they were taught never to waste. In fact, my mother said when her mom threw apple cores out for the chickens, they would sometimes grab it and eat it because they were hungry. So one day during suegro, she sees my father at a distance. And again, they don't meet, but she sees him. She doesn't know who it is. And he drops a pearl button falls off of his shirt. And she, later when she meets him, she realizes that is the man who dropped the pearl button. And she tells him, I don't want you to ever waste in life, because there are poor people like my family who it does make a difference to. And it really turned him around, because he became a person that didn't waste. So when I wrote that chapter, I went to bed. I actually was writing it late. I was getting tired, and I went to bed. And the next morning, right next to my computer, I found a pearl. And I got a little, I don't know if you can see it, but it's a
nice.
pearl.
Yeah.
It was sitting right next to the computer. I do not know where that pearl came from, but I really feel that she was happy that I wrote that in the story, because a lot of these stories that I refer to in the flashbacks are stories she would tell us around our kitchen table.
So I know that right over your shoulder, in fact, is the cover of your book. And it is a really unique cover. And one of the things that makes it special is it's a drawing as opposed to a lot of the standardized covers. So why did you just decide on that drawing? And did you draw it or someone else?
Well, my daughter drew it. So it was my parents' wedding anniversary, their 60th actually. And my daughter took a sketch, and she drew what their wedding picture looked like. And when I was going to have her redesign it, because she was older and she's a wonderful artist. But then I started thinking that was a gift she gave my parents. The book, as I mentioned, is about everyday couple and how everyday people make a difference in life. And so I wanted the book to portray that everyday look instead of the more flashy. There's actually, it's hard to tell, but there's a little design of a tablecloth. And that is, my mother always told us stories around the kitchen table. We did music, played music around the kitchen table, family gatherings, everything happened around that table. And I even talk about the table and the fact that it's about 6 to 8 people, but she literally made 20 people sit around that table, and we ate. And in the back of the book and the cover, my daughter took a picture of myself. It's me with my guitar, and I didn't use a professional photo on that. Again, I was still trying to portray that it's okay to be everyday and ordinary.
You know, you have written a really rich family history, and I mean, I can see why you would be very proud of that and share it with your family and generations to come. So I know that you're a native Texan. So along with being an author and a musician based on the guitar, what's your professional background?
Well, I actually I have a master's degree in English and Communications and a bachelor in Communication Studies. and I did go to universities within Texas. I work in public relations and community relations for the Howard Hughes Corporation. And what I do is I promote the Woodlands Hills, two of their communities. And I write a lot of the press releases. I write a lot of the different material that we need. So I'm very fortunate that I can professionally write in a different style. I've won a couple of awards. I've won 2 Publisher Club awards, marketing awards from the Houston Chronicle back when I worked for the Houston Chronicle. And
Nice.
then I'm probably real proud of winning the Hispanic Chamber, Montgomery County Hispanic Chamber, the Woodlands and the Houston. I won a Community Involvement Award in 2017.
Well, congratulations. That is awesome. And again, you have a daughter. Do you have other children too? Do they help you with beta reading?
Yes, I have 3 children, 2 boys and 1 girl. And they really do make a big difference. I think my oldest son is creative like my daughter's creative, and she plays piano and I play guitar, and it's just very nice. My other son's more mathematical, but we still love him.
Oh, math and music are right next to each other. I mean, my sons both, so they're the same brain to do both of those.
Yes, they are. I'm just kidding.
That's interesting. So you do play music. Do you also compose music, or are you focused on playing and singing?
No, I write music and I sing and play guitar. And I've incorporated a lot of the songs, some of the songs that I've written in the book. In fact, there is a song I wrote. I don't speak Spanish, as I mentioned, even though I love to. But one of the anniversaries for my parents, I wrote a song called I Have a Love. And a friend of mine took that and translated it into Spanish, which is called Tengo un cariño. And I speak about it because I sang it at my mother's funeral. And it was hard, but I thought back when I was singing it and I put the music to it. My dad sat there with me. He knew about the song. It surprised my mother, but he would tell me, put emotion in the song here. Put it here, he would tell me. He would sit around while I practiced guitar, and he would grab a beer and he would coach me really and tell me, this is what you do. So there is another chapter in the book called Dad's Song. And Dad's song is about him. It's how he made an influence in my life. And yes, he influenced me with music, but he's also an example to anybody that has a father that will listen to them. And it's called Dad's Song, You Listen to Me. And that's exactly what he did for me. And I do want to mention—
Sounds like you're very talented from a music perspective. Have you recorded these songs to accompany the book?
Yes, I have actually recorded these songs. And I do want to say one thing. There's one other song called City Boy. And that was my mother's favorite song. And when we would sing, we would sound like we wanted to sound like the Judds. We may not have, but we wanted to. And she would harmonize with me. And so we would sing this song, and she would actually kind of tell the story to whoever would listen about the song. And then she'd join in on the chorus. When she was in hospice, there was a time when she was in a coma, and they said they did not expect her to wake up. I started playing guitar for her in the hospice room, and my dad was sitting next to her, and I started playing guitar, and he's just looking. So I came over and hugged her, and I hugged him, and I started singing a little bit of the song City Boy. It's like platonic love for me and you. And when I started to sing that, I thought I heard her hum. And I told my dad, did she just hum? And he says, I think she did. So I went over and kissed her, and I started singing some more to her in her ear, and she started humming, and it was perfect. And then that day she woke up a little bit, and I was just in tears. My son was with me, and she said, what's wrong? Kind of slurry, but said, what's wrong? And she was patting my back as she woke up from a coma. And I said, I'm supposed to be taking care of you. You're not supposed to be taking care of me. But I like to think that the music really did make a difference.
Sounds like it has your whole life, and especially at that particular moment. That's fabulous. What a memory. So you related that in this book as well, right? That whole scene, or?
Yes, I definitely did that. It's in the book. And also I talk a lot about our family getting together and playing guitar and singing around the kitchen table, and just kind of how much fun we had doing that.
I think that's a marvelous story. So we're going to take another short break from our sponsors. Lorrie, would you come back in a moment and we'll wrap it up?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching or listening to Indie Beacon Radio. Our sponsor, IndieLector.store, is the only bookstore that pays authors their fair share for book sales. Help authors to succeed and enjoy a great book by supporting them at IndieLector.store. Enjoy a 10% discount with coupon code SHOPPER20 at IndieLector.store. Coupon valid until December 31st, 2020. That's IndieLector.store, coupon code SHOPPER20.
The 5th Annual Authors Marketing Event. 2 days of live seminars in marketing for authors. The only organization that certifies authors in marketing. Live and free to the first 100 authors registered. Sponsored by Bubblish, empowering entrepreneurs, and Indie Lector Store, paying authors for their fair share. Head to www.2020.authorsmarketingguild.com today.
What started as a love letter to her son has become an international love letter for all parents to their children. Now you can read acclaimed author Shanalee Charbonneau's story to your children. When her son was very sick, she calmed him by singing her own song to him. She turned that song into the book, My Mama Loves Me, I'm Her Little Boy. She wrote 3 more magical books for all parents and kids 6 and under. Available at Indie Lector, Amazon, and all local and national outlets.
Authors Marketing Guild is a membership-owned organization designed to help authors succeed and learn how to better market and sell themselves and their books. Join us at authorsmarketingguild.com and receive so many benefits you'll wonder why you didn't join sooner. That's authorsmarketingguild.com.
Welcome back to Indie Beacon Radio. Don't forget to like us, follow us, or subscribe to one of our many channels. Now, here is your host for today's show.
Welcome back to Indie Beacon Radio. We're so glad that you could come and listen tonight to Lorrie Parise and her book, The Biography of an Everyday Couple, Turning Ordinary into Extraordinary. So, Lorrie, I know that you have, I believe, enjoyed going to some book festivals and talking to about your book. But right now, that's just not an option. So how are you letting people know about your book?
A lot of it is through the Author Marketing Guild, which I feel very fortunate to be a member of. And they had a virtual Facebook Live. I've been able to tell that. I've also shared some blogs, a couple of them from my website, LorrieParise.com, and just kind of reaching out to people.
So when people read your book, what do you really want them to take away in their heart from this nonfiction book? This is a real book, salt of the earth kind of stuff.
Yeah, I want them to take away that you an ordinary person can be extraordinary. I think so much we rely on rock stars, actors, actresses, athletes, which is okay, but sometimes they rely on these people to be role models. And I really feel that a role model can be your neighbor, your family, your friends. It's next door. You don't have to admire people that are so high up on a pedestal. You can just admire somebody that's right close to your heart.
Absolutely. Well stated. So, this is a wonderful award-winning book that you created. So now what are you working on? Do you have another book or a short story that you're crafting?
Yes, I actually am. I'm working on a different book. It's actually going to be a sequel to this book, but I'm working on the title still, but it's Life Goes On, really. And it's going to flash back now into my life, into my children's lives, as I'm writing letters to my grandsons. And right after my parents passed away a couple of years, and two of my children announced they were having boys. And I had a dream of 2 children coming, which is amazing. And it was with my parents and in the dream, which the book will talk about. But the thing is, I want them to know their past. And you mentioned earlier about legacy, and I really want the family to know where they came from and how your parents, your grandparents were ordinary people too, and how they had decisions to face in life.
And this really seems like a valuable, slice of Texas, slice of real life. So where can people get this book?
They can get the book on Amazon. They can get it on Barnes & Noble online, I believe Walmart too. Also, if you come to my website, which is LorrieParise.com, I have it there. I have a link where you can get the book. If you live close in Texas, I'd be happy to autograph it and send you a copy. Just reach out to me to the website. And I did actually have a couple people reach out. They were together, but they're from Hawaii. I was like, wow.
Yeah, that's nice.
They reached out and I sent them an autograph. So it definitely is available on those places.
Now, you did mention your website a couple of times. Can people reach out and contact you? Do you have like a blog that you do?
Yes, there is a blog on the website. There's also a contact page. And then I also have a Facebook fan page called Lorrie Parise Everyday Author, and they can reach out to me there as well.
Well, I'm looking forward to reading all of this book and finishing it, and your next one as well. So where can people meet you once COVID allows people to go out and about? Is there any events that you're looking forward to, say in 2021?
Yes, I hope to be at the next Texas Lone Star Book Festival when they have it. I believe it's going to be in May of next year. I also will be doing other gatherings. I've gone to some actually before the pandemic. I've gone to some nursing homes. I've gone to the Black Walnut Restaurant, an art gallery, different places around. I've actually went to Floresville, my parents' hometown, and had a book signing at the newspaper there.
Oh,
so
nice.
Yes, and I think they want me back. So I do just hope to do some more book signings. What I call them are singings and signings, because when I go, I tell their story, but I also sing some of the songs that I wrote about them there and share it with them.
Well, I think the next time that we get you on this show, that we need to get you to sing a song. That'd be
absolutely
awesome.
I'll be happy to.
So do you have any inspiring words for upcoming authors that you want to share?
I think one of the most important things is, you write your book, but you really have to market the book. You have to do publicity on the book. I have really pushed that. I've sent out, you had asked before, besides the book signings, I've done press releases on the book and sent it out. When we're talking about book signings, I did one for like a Catholic organization where I spoke about the book, but I did it around Christmas time. And I really used the chapter of the non-traditional Christmas within there. And then you just have to find different angles to promote the book. And when I spoke with the Lions Club, they're all about heroes and they're all about inspirational people. And I think that is, again, just another way to really push the message. I actually have sung at like the Woodlands Waterway Arts Festival, and then at that time I also promote the book. So I kind of cross-promoted as well.
Well, again, Lorrie Parise, author of Biography of an Everyday Couple. I am so delighted that you joined us this evening, and I hope that you get to come back again. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And I hope to come back with a new book.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to Indie Beacon Radio, where creative souls can find help in marketing their creations. To learn more about Indie Beacon services, to be a guest on the show, or to advertise on our show, please visit our website.
Indie Beacon Radio with hostess Rox Burkey. Indie Beacon Radio is produced by B. Allen Bourgeois for Authors Marketing Guild LLC, copyright 2020. Voiceover by Randy James, Lydia Bello, and B. Allen Bourgeois. To be a sponsor of the show or for more information, please email us at info@authorsmarketingguild.com. To be interviewed for the show, please complete the form at radio.authorsmarketingguild.com. Music Always Rejoice by Ramcord